Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence, we go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion, and that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on, it's gonna be fun.
Preparing for the State of the Union. This as the president is facing a 60% disapproval rating in a new ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll. Here's ABC's senior White House correspondent, Selena Wang.
Tonight, just days before President Trump delivers his State of the Union address, new polling shows most Americans disapprove of his job in office. Trump's disapproval rating stands at 60%, the highest of his second term. That's according to the latest ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll. A significant portion of Americans disapprove of how Trump is handling inflation, tariffs, and relations with other countries. And a majority say the president does not have the mental or physical health to effectively serve as president. It comes after the Supreme Court dealt a staggering blow to the president's signature economic policy, declaring most of his sweeping tariffs on foreign imports are illegal. But the president moving swiftly to impose 15% global tariffs under a different legal authority.
We found ways to really reconstruct what we're doing. Now it doesn't have the same flexibility, but it gives us very durable tools.
Meanwhile, the partial government shutdown dragging on with no end in sight. Democrats are demanding changes to rein in immigration enforcement after the killing of Renee Good and Alex Preddy by federal agents in Minneapolis.
We believe that this moment should be used to make dramatic changes to ICE.
And Lindsay, that same poll finds that Americans do not trust the Democratic Party any more than President Trump to handle these challenges, underscoring just how frustrated and divided our country is right now. Lindsay.
And the thing, that was before the State of the Union address. Today's date, February 25th, 2026, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan. How the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. Before we get started, guys, we do pride ourselves on being a news podcast. We only cite from sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, The Daily Beast, now CBS, wherever extreme left, extreme right you get your views from. We simply don't do that. At the same time, we do try to watch our language on this show, and sometimes there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers. So viewer discretion is advised aside from that. Welcome. So we are doing a little bit before and after, of course. This is post the State of the Union address. Of course, beforehand, Diaper Don was looking at a 60% disapproval rating. And yet, I know for a lot of people, it's like, Will, are you really about to go over the State of the Union address? Briefly. And I say briefly, only because it was, in fact, the longest State of the Union address out there. This is true. Was there plenty of lies? Absolutely. But before the State of the Union address, the Supreme Court did something I never thought they would do, which is surprising that a lot of them decided to defy the man baby, striking down a majority of his tariffs.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas, Alito, and Kavanaugh for their strength and wisdom and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices. When you read the dissenting opinions, there's no way that anyone can argue against them. There's no way. Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long. That I can assure you. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic no, just like in Congress. They're an automatic no. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation.
He sounds like a rejected, bitter ex. And I don't feel bad for him, folks. I don't. I don't feel bad for him because, number one, I did not expect the Supreme Court to hold up. Now, keep in mind, with the ruling, it knocks down a majority of his tariffs, which to where, if you believe Diaper Don over here, oh, everybody's been getting over on us. No, we pretty much sacrificed manufacturing for cheaper labor overseas. And that was actually done at the request of the Republican Party many decades ago. But, we don't expect Diaper Don to remember anything that he wasn't a part of, or he doesn't want to take accountability for, or he doesn't want to be blamed for. It's always the wins because he swears he's winning. But the crazy part about this with Diaper Don was that after the ruling of the Supreme Court, what does this pendejo do? Decides to institute a 10% global tariff. Now, the crazy part out of all this is not only the fact that he thanked Kavanaugh, Alito, and the original blueprint for the Uncle Tom, Mr. Clarence Thomas, because I refuse to call him Supreme Court Justice. I honestly should call him a predator and should be in jail, but that's a whole nother story. But the fact that he thanked 3 out of the 9 justices that we have, because the other 6 went against him, even Amy Coney Barrett, a Supreme Court justice that he pushed for, because they had to get her in when the late RBG was barely in the ground, and they pushed her in as soon as humanly possible, also went against the tariffs, which is actually crazy that, of course, the winners in his mind are whoever that goes for him, because he likes to think that he's loved, but really he's just a dick. And at the same time, guys, again, with the 10% tariffs going into place, 10% global tariffs going into place. Again, this goes back to the Supreme Court telling Diaper Don, no, you can't do it at all. And if you try to do it, well, you're going to wind up right back here. But that's been the case, isn't it? Because almost everything has gone almost his way. I mean, the tariffs for the longest time, because again, the Republican Party, who in my mind are just as guilty as crap out of everything this man has done, they had the congressional power to stop Diaper Don, and they didn't want to. So in my mind, this administration under Trump, they are all guilty. They may be accomplices before and after the fact, but they're all freaking guilty. And at the same time, he doesn't like the fact that he loved the Supreme Court, guys. You got to remember, everything was Supreme Court. Oh, well, we're going to get this to the Supreme Court. Oh, well, we're going to push the Supreme Court. I have never, in my almost 43 years on this earth, I have never heard a president say Supreme Court so much like it's its own personal court that he can just call and have cases submitted to. He is the only president on record that has sat there and summoned the Supreme Court like it's a Pokemon. And at the same time, the one time the Supreme Court goes against him, now all of a sudden he's rejected. Oh, they don't know what they're doing. They're all idiots. I expect that from a senile, diaper-wearing, catheter-laced, not all quite there, possible dementia in Alzheimer's idiot. I expect that. But I'm not surprised either that now the whole thing about, oh, the Supreme Court is not going to go with me on this one. And they shouldn't. Because the Supreme Court is not tied to any political party. Shouldn't be. Much like the IRS, much like the U.S. Treasury, much like the Labor and Statistics Board. I can keep going down the list of all these departments that don't serve left or right. They only serve the people, in which Taco has taken upon himself to try to use the Treasury as his own personal piggy bank. He hasn't succeeded yet, but he's definitely trying. But let's go ahead and get to the State of the Union address. And it's 3 minutes, guys. It's 3 minutes. Okay, it's just the highlights. I just want to show how much, and pardon my French, because we're barely 10 minutes into this podcast, how much of a shit show it really is. But without further ado, it's 3 minutes. Just bear with me.
The President of the United States.
Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. You're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in. I use these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota. I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance. As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. Tonight, I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, Homeland Security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. There has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. And a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
See, guys, I told you, less than 3 minutes. I'm just going to go on. It was a shit show. It was a total, utter shit show. It was from beginning to end. Literally, yes, historically. Is it the longest State of the Union address? Yes, it is. Is it full of shit? Yes, it is. Did he tell one thing that was true? No. Not freaking all. And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. When I literally sat there and took it upon myself to actually look to see if there was anything true in what he said, I have yet to find it. I went over that speech in its entirety and researched everything that he said, and even went to my favorite site, PolitiFact, award-winning, mind you, award-winning fact-checking site that has no ties to the left, no ties to the right. They just explain the facts as they are. Even PolitiFact was like, dude, at this point, his that whole speech was bullshit. And it was. The warrior dividends, the fact that, economy, the incomes are up. The only thing you can talk about is the Dow. And here's the thing that always kills me. Why is it that the mark of a great economy is how the stock market how the stock market's doing for that country? I never understood it. Because literally in we were in the middle of a pandemic and companies skyrocketed. I mean, from grocery stores, electronics, you name it, all these big companies had record profits in a pandemic. This was during the height of COVID, mind you, and they had record profits. Even now, post-pandemic, still got record profits. But income has not increased. People are paying more because the cost of living has gone exponentially up. Incomes have not increased. 401ks have not increased. Which, again, this is the reason why for a lot of people that were actually looking at the State of the Union address, it's like, no, because I pay more now. I pay more now at the pump. I pay more now in loans. I pay more now for food. I pay more now in utilities. I am paying more now for the same services that I get. And at the same freaking time, I'm not winning, as Diaper Don loves to say. Because let's also be honest, guys, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The State of the Union for Diaper Don was nothing more than his own personal Fox News echo chamber for almost 2 hours. Because he basked in the applause. You just look at him. He's like a little kid that, does a cartwheel and then goes looking for his dad and goes, "Dad, look at me, I did a cartwheel. Oh, yay, yay." Because that's what they did. The entire GOP party, every time Diaper Don said something, "Oh, stand up and applause." I kept on waiting for the guys to, like the seals at a water park or an aquarium. Whenever they do a trick, there's always that one trainer with a bucket of fish and toss them up that trick. And after they do that trick, they're just, clapping their hands. I don't know what they call them on seals. I apologize. But that's what it felt like with the GOP party last night. It was stand up, applause. Oh no, Diaper Don said something. We don't know what was good or not. Stand up, applause. Give him applause because that's all he wants. Because this man, this excuse of a snowflake, all he wanted was applause. And to sit there and say, "I'm winning," they can't stand it. Even though I love the fact that Democrats, 74 Democrats didn't show up. 74 Democrats did not go to State of the Union. And here's my thing, Democrats. You know what would have been a more powerful statement if none of the Democratic Party was there. And this is what I can't stand about Hakeem Jeffries. This is what I can't stand about Chuck Schumer. We want to make sure there's decorum. We want to make sure that we're there. No. If you want to show, here's my thing. If you want to send a message, send it by your actions. Because number one, no Democrats should have been at the State of the Union. I was hoping to see a full right and an empty left. I mean, I almost got my wish because none of the progressive liberal Supreme Court judges were there. Kajani Brown Jackson, Sotomayor. Excuse me, I'm surprised that even Neil Gorsuch wasn't there. And he's conservative. But Amy Coney Barrett was there. Justice Brett Kavanaugh was there. Of course, Uncle Tom, Clarence Thomas, didn't show up. But Chief Justice Henry Roberts, he showed up. But from the Democratic side, what killed me the most, guys, is that for the simple fact of the matter, the Democrats, you should never have been there. But I'll tell you who should have been there. Every Epstein victim that Pam Bondi refused to see. What would have been a more impactful State of the Union to see on the left side everyone that wants to come forward and talk about their experiences on that island with that man and his associates, sitting, invited by Democrats to sit in their seats during the State of the Union address? What could have been a more powerful thing? Because I do believe that everybody has the right to face the predator. And I'm telling you, that would have been freaking great. Because again, with the Epstein files, which we'll get into momentarily, because every other country, when their person that was involved saw the Epstein files, either got removed, either arrested, stripped of their titles, and especially in the royal family. The royal family don't be playing when it comes to that stuff. But I'm sorry, the UK, I should say the British family don't be playing with that stuff. But what was the most impactful thing of the night, which to me is also the title of today's title for this week's podcast, was this right here. Of course, that's Representative Al Green from Texas holding up a sign to remind Diaper Donald, hey, Black people aren't apes. Which, for all those that don't remember, Trump, and we know it was him, Diaper Don posted on his Truth Social a video depicting the former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes. And then they tried their hardest for 4 freaking days. Oh, well, it wasn't him. It was a staffer. It was a staffer. The mysterious staffer that no one can find that apparently wasn't fired. And then, of course, Taco, I keep on calling him Taco, he's a Diaper Don, but Trump never apologized For a lot of people who don't know this, Trump never apologized. He sat there and said, oh, it wasn't me, it was somebody else. And then his secretary just not even 48 hours later, 24 hours later, turns around and sit there and says, hey guys, if it's on Truth Social, it came from the president. So he did it. But I want to show that picture because that picture is powerful. He needs to be reminded because he is a racist piece of caca. Even more so, the men's hockey team, of course, the Winter Olympics in Milan did wrap up. And we do know for the fact that the the U.S. men's hockey team was invited there, as you saw in the clips, because, he needed a distraction. Whenever it comes to Trump, he needs a distraction. Oh, hey, here's America. America beat Canada. Hey, guys, U.S. hockey team, gold medal. Applaud for him. Because you can tell he needed something in that speech. He needed something because it was long, it was dragging, it was dead, much like the pulse he's got right now. But the fact the U.S. men's hockey team, which, by the way, FBI Director Kash Patel decided to take the company plane and go party with them instead of actually doing his job as the director of FBI, which, again, that's funny. We'll get into that momentarily as well, did celebrate with the men. Now, why are we talking about the women, Will? Because this is why I say sometimes women definitely do have the intelligence edge on us guys. Why? Because they decided, nah, we're not going to State of the Union. They called it, and again, from the official thing was a scheduling error. But come on now. And I say this because this is why I say women are smarter than us. Women are so much smarter than us. Because the women's U.S. hockey team did beat Canada in the gold medal round at the same time, guys. What I love what they did, because they had to think about it. And what I mean by thinking about it, guys, I mean for the simple fact of the matter is, how would that look for women to be standing right next to Trump after everything that disgusted, bloated POS has said and done? And those women on that group, especially the captain, was like, nah, we're good. But again, they did decline. And then Trump made a joke about, well, I got to invite him because if I don't invite him, I'm going to get impeached. No, it's going to have to take a different Congress to impeach you because the current one right now are your accomplices, and they're not going to rat you out unless you are a sinking ship that eventually needs to be put down. They're not going to rat you out. But back to the U.S. women's hockey team. Congratulations to them. Of course, Flavor Flav is definitely getting the sponsorships. I said, if anybody can get marketing going, it's that guy. But again, congratulations to the U.S. hockey team, not just for the fact of winning the gold medal against Canada, but at the same time, you wanted to make a statement. And that statement was, nah, we cool. I was like, yeah, we know Trump's there, but nah, we cool. We're definitely cool. But another story I want to get to, guys, unfortunately involves my home state of Tennessee. Why does it involve my home state of Tennessee? Because, again, I keep saying, and after this, let me first say this, ladies, to all women that watch this podcast or listen to this podcast, first and foremost, thank you. Second of all, I am so sorry for y'all. So very sorry. And with that being said, Tennessee decided that they wanted to add something different to their abortion bill. They want to add death.
There's a proposed amendment to a law here in Tennessee that's creating quite a controversy. It's actually an amendment to something called a caption bill, a law that's put out there with nothing really in it, and later it's amended to have some substantive legislation in it. Well, this amendment being pushed forward by House Republican Jody Barrett, he's from Dixon, would criminalize abortion in the state of Tennessee. Now, it's already illegal to get an abortion in the volunteer state, but this bill says it wants the protections of Tennessee law, and in this case, particularly criminal law, to equally apply to what it calls preborn children, so fetuses in the womb. And what it would do, in essence, is allow prosecutors, if someone gets an abortion in the state of Tennessee or attempt to get one, to prosecute the expectant mother who has aborted their child under criminal law. And the penalties could include anything that's available under homicide or assault statutes, leading up to life in prison or even the death penalty. As you can imagine, it stirred quite some controversy. It's also being sponsored in the Senate by Senator Mark Pody. Now, it took a while for us to get a copy of this bill. It was leaked last Friday. And because the bill hasn't been introduced yet, it hasn't been published. So when we went to the state capitol today, I actually went to Representative Barrett's office and he gave me a copy, but he's holding off on interviews right now. So we spun over to the senator's office, Senator Mark Pody, as I mentioned. He's from Lebanon, and he gave us an interview. And he said today, after speaking with some of his colleagues in the Senate, the bill's not dead on arrival, but there isn't enough support for him to muster, or anyone muster up the votes to get this to pass. So while it's not dead, Pody told me there's going to be some negotiation needed. He thinks it may happen to change that language and possibly come up with a version that could pass both chambers, the Senate and the House. We'll see. Representative Barrett, again, he's the one who's authored the bill, told me that it won't get introduced in subcommittee, the Population Health Subcommittee in the House, until as early as next Monday. We'll continue to watch it then and see if this bill has any chance of passing or moving forward. But again, it's something that's caused quite a controversy and stir here in Tennessee. It would be the first of its kind really in the nation to criminalize abortion, put it on the same level as murder, and leave a lot of legal wrangling if someone were to get an abortion in the state if this bill passes.
So I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and I'm going to say it again. Ladies, I am freaking sorry. I am. And you know what? I'm going to take it one step further. I would understand in this day and age. I would understand if a woman doesn't want to date. I will understand if a woman decides that she doesn't want to marry. I understand if a woman decides she doesn't even want to have kids because she has no rights. And it baffles me because I say this all the time. I say this all the time to so-called pro-birth, pro-life individuals because they're idiots. I say this all the time, that you basically want to control women because it should be pro-choice. A woman should be allowed to do whatever she wants with her body. The choices and consequences are hers. Because here's the thing, and I say this all the time. If you told a man, and I'm being completely honest here, if you told a man the same thing you told a woman, and I mean by that is tell them that their body's not theirs. Tell them every time that they decide to stir the secret sauce that it's murder. Tell them every time that they decide that they don't want to be a part of something, it comes with death. Oh, there'll be riots in the streets. Oh, how dare you sit there and tell a man that he can't do this? Okay, replace that with a woman. And that's why I said I feel for ladies. And now, like I said, me with my wife, my sisters, and my daughter, and having a lot of friends I know that are of the female gender, I get it. I'm like, as far as the male gender, I apologize profusely, but I get it. I get it if you want to be yourself. Because if you thought The Handmaid's Tale was just a suggestion, these fools in this state are trying to make it a reality. Because, and I say this all the time, the GOP does not view women as women. They view women as objects. They view women as baby-making, producing machines. You like if you've ever been to a cow farm where, most of the cows are hooked up to machines, their udders hooked to machines, and they're milked. I mean, it's supposed to be all humane and whatnot, but there is a process for that. They're trying to do the same thing with women and pretty much saying you have no choice. And I hate that because that is so beyond not true. But the simple fact of the matter is that a woman can do whatever she wants with her body, and you could hate it or not, but it's her body. And if you feel that way about your body, but can't understand why it can't be the same way for a woman, not only are you a hypocrite, you are fracking stupid. And I stand on that. But yes, as of right now, they are trying to make this work. I fear for the women in this state because this state is progressively backwards and they're trying to take it back to the 1940s. All because some misguided group of individuals don't like how other people different from them live their lives, and they think they know better. That, my friends, is called white privilege, and it needs to stop. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this as well because, Trump would love nothing more to have his name on everything. I think because the clock's running out and this man's trying to make sure his name's on every freaking thing. He is moving forward with his board of peace. Yes, I still can't believe that's a thing.
Of President Trump's Board of Peace just wrapped up in Washington. At least 27 countries on the board had representatives there, while other countries like Italy, South Korea, and the European Union were there as observers.
Notably absent are several key U.S. allies like the UK, France, which have opted not to join that group. Well, today's meeting focused on the next steps for the ceasefire in Gaza. And it's happening as U.S. officials say the military is building up its presence there in the Middle East in preparation for a possible military strike on Iran. Following it all, NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now. Gabe, still so many open questions about this meeting and what it actually means. I know President Trump really set the tone for the meeting with those opening remarks. What exactly did we hear from him and what came out essentially in this first meeting?
Well, Morgan, we got a little bit more details about the plan for Gaza. There were dozens of speakers at this meeting, which lasted about 3 hours, as you mentioned. Top members of the Trump administration are there, including the president, the vice president, the secretary of state, and also those special envoys, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. Now, the president really laying out a sort of muscular foreign policy, this idea of peace through strength, and saying that these countries were the ones he wanted to look after the future of Gaza. And one of the speakers said that the idea for the Gaza coastline, some 200 hotels, building some 100,000 homes for some 500,000 residents, and also the president pledging that the U.S. would commit $10 billion to the Board of Peace, although he didn't specify where that funding would come from or if he plans to ask Congress for it. Now, as you said, this all comes amid the backdrop of escalating tensions with Iran. The president briefly mentioned that as well. Let's listen.
Israel and Iran, and we'll see where that goes. We just ordered 22 more of them, updated model, the B-2 bombers. It went into Iran and it totally decimated the nuclear potential. So now we may have to take it a step further, or may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
Again, finding out over the next 10 days or so. It's our reporting that the president has not yet made a decision on the next steps in Iran. However, as you mentioned, Morgan and Vicky, the U.S. is sending more military firepower to the region in case the president were to make a decision.
Gabe, we know the United Nations is tasked with handling global crises, diplomatic issues. The president has been extremely critical of the UN in the past. Where does the Board of Peace come in? How does it align, work with, or not work with the UN?
And heading into this, Vicky, that was one of the major questions, right? And as you said in your introduction, it's why many European allies have decided not to participate in the Board of Peace because they feel that it could undermine the United Nations. Well, the president seemed to acknowledge that a bit. He said some of the countries that were declining to participate may be playing this a little too cute, but he also seemed to suggest, and he flat out said, that he planned that the Board of Peace would look over the United Nations and perhaps strengthen it. Still unclear about how this plays out, but certainly President Trump feels that this is a body, one that he created and he leads, that would oversee the United Nations in some form. Again.
So what's crazy about this, folks? This Board of Peace is really a Board of BS. That again, this is Donald wanting to sit there and say, "Oh, I don't like NATO. I don't like United Nations." But I like it. I like the Board of Peace because I created it. And everybody that jumps on the Board of Peace has to pay $5 billion into my account that's owned by the Saudis that's supposed to help with Gaza rebuilding. Say what you want about Trump. This man comes up with cons every chance he freaking gets. But he wants to say, well, eventually this is going to overlook the United Nations. Oh, dear God, no. And I cannot stress that enough. Oh, dear God, no. Not just no, but hell no. Why? Because the last thing we freaking need is a board that is ran by Donald overseeing the United Nations so they can do what? Eventually become the overseers? Hell no. At the same time, how is it that you're trying to have peace talks, but you're gearing up for another war? See, that's where his department, the Secretary of Defense, I call it Department of War because Congress never approved it, but never sober Pete Hegseth is literally having a hard-on for a next war. And that's all it is. It's either join the boat. You know what it is? I'm gonna put it this way. You know what Trump would love to say, but he's not black, but he's definitely not black to say it. Y'all can get down or y'all can lay down. Because that's what he wants to say. But he's like, peace through strength. That is such bullshit. You might as well say peace through a scope. Because either I can see you or you'll see Jesus involuntarily. It's up to you. But it is amazing to me that people are trying to, he's trying to make this work. Because a con man needs a new con every chance he gets. And trust and believe, folks, he needs a new con. And if he doesn't get it, well, like I said before, it's only a matter of time with the midterms. And that's if, and that's a mighty big if, the Democrats come through. But the border peace is bullshit. It really is. But speaking of bullshit, because we got to go back across the pond for a minute, the BAFTA Awards. Now, you guys have probably seen this 100 times already, but we got to talk about it, and it took me a while to find an edited clip. So there will be language that can be heard, triggering language. You have been warned.
We apologize if you were offended.
After the night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to celebrate
a place which is very troubled. Are delighted to be presenting the BAFTA for supporting actor this evening.
You may have heard some strong and offensive language. Seen the film, I swear you will know that film is about the experience of a person with Tourette syndrome. Syndrome is a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette syndrome has no control over their language.
I just want to say that for people living with Tourette's, it's us around them that help define what their experience is. So to quote the film, they need support and understanding.
So I'm going to stop it right there. Why am I going to stop it right there, folks? Because, again, this was a night, and I'm going to stress it very heavily, this was a night that those literally and figuratively of Sinners, of Ryan Coogler's, let's call it what it is, Ryan Coogler's masterpiece of Sinners that has had more runs. I can't think of a movie outside of Avatar and maybe a few other ones that have had more runs in a movie theater than Sinners. Global box office hit. Michael B. Jordan, Delroy Lindo. I can keep going down the list, but those two names right there. Delroy Lindo, a man who's on a list, a short list for nominations. Why? Well overdue. Underestimated actor in Hollywood. Well overdue for this man's flowers. Michael B. Jordan, again, gave an Oscar-like performance because he played two different people in the movie. Ryan Coogler, a man that is showing what can be done if people are given the opportunity. People of color, not just people of color, but people in general. But we say people of color because in Hollywood, we've been told all the time, people of color of a cat with a full cast don't make money. And yet Sinners is breaking the mold. That being said on this night, where it should have been praised, where it should have been a lot more going on than what it was, you know what we got, ladies and gentlemen? We got the N-word. Oh, but Will, he had Tourette's. People don't know what Tourette's is. Uncontrollable. You have these tics. You will say certain things. Let me tell you something, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. What they did at the BAFTA Awards initially was bullshit. The person who had Tourette's, I understand that it's something you can't control. I understand that it's something that comes with tics. I understand that you may or may not be able to control when it happens, when it occurs. Hence the BAFTA piece where they're trying to show that he had outbursts all night. But it's the actions afterwards that should have done something. The actions afterwards. I have yet to hear that man apologize. Oh, well, if what I said was, I hope, if I offended someone, I mean, it's because of my condition. And I'm going to be honest. What is it with white people and accountability? What is it with white people and accountability? Oh, I was drunk. Oh, I was high. Oh, I wasn't in my right frame of mind. Oh, I was temporarily insane. Oh, I have Tourette's. But you're going to sit there and tell me that you still can't apologize? I mean, although the timing of when he said it with two black men on stage that were presenting an award, I thought was just a little too coincidental for me. But your actions afterwards should have said something. To that man that decided to say the N-word during that time, he should have walked up to them and immediately apologized. Let the apology be as loud as the disrespect. And what would have happened? Oh, well, I had to make sure that they understood that, I don't mean at them, that it didn't come from a place. I am so very sorry for ruining your moment. I wish I could take that back, but I want you to know how deeply and truly sorry I am. How hard is it to say you're sorry? How hard is it to apologize? Oh, but Will, he shouldn't apologize for his condition. So it's okay for a person with Tourette's to say the N-word to black people and expect not to get touched? Is that what you're telling me? That again, shout out to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo for being professionals. Because I know if that was me, I know I am not mature enough to where I know I have not had enough media training. I have not had enough patience to where if I'm giving an award and someone goes, time out, hold up, let's address this. What's your problem? I know me, but I have to give Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo credit for, sticking it in there. I know afterwards they were just like, man, but what killed me, not only the man that had Tourette's didn't apologize, the BAFTAs didn't even edit. I mean, they took it out. They edited it out 48 hours later. Even where Warner Brothers tried to come in there and say, no, we didn't like the way y'all handled that. At the same time, a judge stepped down because they didn't like how it was handled. Because at the end of the day, guys, when something like that happens in the now, we are expecting people. Like, we are expecting, like, hey, what are you guys going to do for this situation? Because we need to address this. We cannot let this stand. But you figured, oh, we'll come back to it 48 hours later and then it'll all blow over. No apology, except from the BAFTAs. The man with Tourette's has yet to apologize, and we're supposed to accept it. Nah. We may come from our ancestors, but we've learned from our ancestors, we're not taking anything lightly. And at the same time, it is amazing to me that so many folks are leaning on this disability. I am not knocking Tourette's. Understand, like I said this, I'm not knocking Tourette's. I am knocking the man who is aware of when it happens and what he does post action, because that tells me everything. That tells me everything. In the moment with Tourette's, okay, you can't control it, but what do you do afterwards? That would be like a kid with Tourette's going up to a black kid at school and he says the same thing. And what? The black kid's not supposed to do anything? Because once that word is said, and I'm a big proponent of that. I don't like the word. I don't say it. I don't call my friends that, because in my mind, no black person is that. No black person is that. So I never say the word. I have literally sat there and said to myself, there's one word I simply will not say, because it's that detrimental, it's that damaging to black people. At the same time, there is not enough time in the world for us to be, quote unquote, get over it. There is not enough time in the MCU for us to get over that, because it is a trigger. It is something that is reminding us that it could be 2026, but we're still back there. because somebody thinks it's an okay word to say. And in the words of Jamie Foxx, he knew exactly what he wanted to say. But again, just my opinion. He could have apologized. BAFTA could have handled it better. But it is amazing whenever it comes to Black folks, we are given the 48-hour treatment and not the immediate turnaround. Unless we do something, then they expect us to be groveling on our hands and feet immediately right then and there. But tell me when I start telling lies. But moving right along, guys, I did want to cover this again, going back to Cash Patel. There is a reason why we're covering him because, well, part one of this is that you remember that case that Special Counsel Jack Smith was going over that Trump basically held documents that, again, she never had before. And yet, because he became president, they actually had to make the case go quiet. The same judge that actually dismissed Jack Smith's special counsel has now decided, yeah, we're not going to release the files that he had either.
Handling of classified documents won't be made public. President Trump pleaded not guilty to 37 criminal counts after prosecutors said he repeatedly refused to turn over classified documents taken to Mar-a-Lago after he left office. Judge Aileen Cannon dismissed the case after deciding Smith's appointment was unlawful. Now she's barring the release of the report, saying, quote, it would cause irreparable damage to former defendants and, quote, contravene basic notions of fairness and justice. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky is here for more on that. So, Aaron, what went into this decision and how significant is this?
Well, it's significant because we're not going to see what Special Counsel Jack Smith prepared, what he actually found. And as you say, President Trump pleaded not guilty, denied mishandling classified documents. But we know classified documents were found at Mar-a-Lago, many of them just packed haphazardly in boxes stacked in a bathroom. So the public will never know what kinds of documents were there. We had some sense from our reporting, but won't know the full extent because Judge Cannon has decided the report cannot be made public. And this was something that Trump asked for, his Justice Department agreed with, and now the judge that he appointed has affirmed.
Is this the end of the discussion, or could these documents still be released eventually?
It's not clear who necessarily would appeal because everyone agrees, right? It's Trump, the people he appointed, but it's possible members of the news media could try to force the issue at the 11th Circuit or even higher if it comes to that. But for the moment, the report is not going to be made public ever. The judge did not go as far as Trump wanted, which is to say, destroy the report. It will continue to exist, but it's going to be limited disclosure to within the Justice Department.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what you basically are seeing is a cover-up. And for a guy that sits there and says he's done nothing wrong, his Department of Justice might as well be his own personal court, might as well be his own lawyers, personal lawyers, are making sure that anything regarding Trump doesn't get released. Now, keep in mind, it's the report on Trump's handling of classified info. Now, if he's done nothing wrong, then certainly there's nothing damaging that could affect him. And yet, the same judge, Judge Aileen Cannon, who again is a Trump-appointed judge, not only throughout Jack Smith's special counsel testimony, she is now saying that, no, we're going to block the release because there's no need for that to be out there. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what you call an effing cover-up. And that's exactly what the Department of Justice is doing. This is why when we talk about what's happening with three people that are involved under Epstein, this is why I have next to nothing in faith under Pam Bondi. Her job is to not be Attorney General. Her job is to basically be Trump's personal lawyer with the title of Attorney General. That's all it is. And now, what's the problem? The problem is that Trump is scared. Trump has to have a plan B. Trump believes that if the Democrats really do get the House and the Senate in a major way come midterms, that yes, the first thing they will try to do is impeach him. Because without the presidential seat, Trump knows he's going to prison. And like I said, because again, the DOJ's standing opinion is you can't indict a sitting president, which I've never understood. Other countries have indicted their presidents for many decades. But yet when it comes to the U.S., once you're the president, you're somehow immune. But that's only half of the story. that very same issue, that very same documents that are being protected right now, 7 FBI agents were fired from a guy who took a company plane to go celebrate with the U.S. hockey team. And I wish I could make that up.
Are reporting that the FBI has just fired at least 7 FBI agents and support staff as a result of their role in the classified documents case. This is involving records Donald Trump kept at his club at Mar-a-Lago. Now, that is according to 3 people familiar with the matter. An FBI spokesperson did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the terminations. Well, MS Now senior investigative correspondent Carol Lenig, who just broke that story, joins us. Also with us is Christina Greer, associate professor of political science at Fordham University. She's the author of How to Build a Democracy, From Fannie Lou Hamer and Barbara Jordan to Stacey Abrams.
Carol, please talk us through your reporting and which questions still remain.
Well, you know, Alicia, I thought we were done with FBI agents being fired en masse, but tonight we got a tip that, and it wasn't that hard to confirm, that multiple agents and some support staff, at least 7 agents, were fired in relationship to their role in the Mar-a-Lago, what's known as the Mar-a-Lago documents case. You'll remember the FBI opened an investigation after determining there was probable cause to believe that Donald Trump had top secret classified records at his club when he was no longer president after he had left the office in January of 2021. These individuals were fired, we are told by sources, were fired because they played some role in seeking investigative materials and specifically phone records, metadata about the phone calls of Kash Patel, who is now the FBI director, and Susie Wiles, who is now the chief of staff for the White House. The choice of these firings now is interesting because the FBI director fired, or his predecessor fired, many FBI agents immediately after Donald Trump's inauguration. So the question arises, why now are these individuals considered suspect or unprofessional or violating their oath of office?
Because cover up. That's all it is. This is this is the thing that kills. I will always say there and say this. Whenever you see the cover up, ladies and gentlemen, this is what usually happens. They will turn around and they will sit there and say, "Oh, well, this can be damaging toward the president." They've done that in every case. They try. I mean, that they couldn't get the rape case that one individual had won, because again, that was sexual assault, not rape. That's the reason why he can still be considered a predator. They couldn't get the Manhattan fraud case because, well, Letitia James made sure that his ass was guilty. The only things that they actually stopped, which again, 2 of them could have landed him in prison. Of course, the Florida case, which is document handling, which is the one we just talked about with Jack Smith being special co-counsel, that for all those that don't remember, Trump asked for a special counsel, and Jack Smith was that said person. And also in Fulton County, Georgia, where Trump had directed the FBI, along for some odd reason, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, to basically take the voting records from the 2020 election that he supposedly was thought it was rigged. And keep in mind, folks, this is the same Fulton County, Georgia, where former DA Fannie Willis was going after Trump for election interference. That because of his wrangling, him pushing back, complaining, getting the DA in trouble, and eventually when he became president, the case was thrown out. It's all effing cover-ups. Because here's the thing. Scratch the Epstein files for a second. We know Trump is knee effing deep in those files. We know that. But we had 3 cases at the time. 3 federal cases that any other person would have done what Trump done and found guilty would be in jail. Under the jail, actually. But yet this man, because again, this is the reason why the presidential seat is so valuable to him, because his DOJ will not prosecute. Pam Bondi will not prosecute. If there was a smoking, I'm gonna be so honest with you guys. If there was a smoking gun in the Epstein files, and it points to Trump, red-handed, above suspicion. If the smoking gun, which I really do believe is in those files, along pointing at a lot of other important people, like Pam Bondi sat there and said, well, if we went after everybody in the Epstein files, the whole system would collapse. All right, why not? Because again, this has been going on for so long. There's so many victims out there. If the system is going to collapse because a few pedophiles, a few predators and pedophiles just simply are in high influential, powerful places, yes, they do need to come down. We've seen other countries bring down rich people and regimes for much less. I would not be against it. But I'm also saying this is why Pam Bondi will never prosecute, because Trump has found his shield in the Department of Justice, and she will not, and she will do her job. And I mean doing her job, she will be Trump's personal lawyer disguised as an attorney general. And here's the crazy part, because I talk about the Epstein files, just because this is the last one before we get to our feel-good segment. Like, for example, and again, here's the crazy part. This man, Richard Axel of the Columbia Brain Institute, he's a co-director and was also a setup for the Nobel Prize, will resign as co-director of the Zuckerman Mind Brain Behavior Institute to focus on his own research. He was labeled in the Epstein files. Larry Summers, a Harvard University professor, also had a relationship with Epstein. He's resigning. Bill Gates admits affairs because admits he had many affairs and says his Epstein association was a huge mistake because he stepped down from speaking at a certain fundraiser, but because of his, again, ties to Epstein, he decided to step down. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's 3 individuals. In other countries, 2 individuals have lost their titles. 2 individuals lost titles, lost land. 1 is arrested. 1 is in prison from the Epstein files. Now you got to think, this is in 2 different countries. We're not even sure with these 3 million plus documents, these 3 million plus page documents. We're not sure how deep that rabbit hole goes, ladies and gentlemen. We really don't. But I hate to say it, out of all of this, I don't think we are going to see the justice that we should see under Bondi. And Bondi has every chance in the world to do the right thing. As the AG, your job is to go after everybody, the president included. If there's evidence to indict and convict, because she went after Letitia James and lost that battle. She went after a former FBI director, James Comey, lost that battle. She's now trying to go after independent journalist Don Lemon. And I guarantee that's going to be thrown out. Because it's amazing. She's going after everybody that talked about Trump in some way, but yet will not go after the man when the evidence is right in front of you. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we know a cover-up when we see one, which makes the midterms that more, it makes it matter that much more. Because the midterms, again, Democrats, you guys have the ability to turn this whole ship around. If you do get overwhelming majority in the House and the Senate, you have to get 2/3 of the House and Senate. That means you have to get 80% of the House. You have to get at least 65% of the Senate. That's more than 2/3. That's the only way you're going to get Trump out, because we cannot expect the Republicans to do their job. The Republicans, like the mob, they're not going to run each other out unless it's a sweetheart of a deal. Just saying. But we're going to move on to our feel good segment, because usually guys don't have the fact we do on the follow. Usually when I get my words together, usually don't have the fact we got here. We do cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes make you faith humanity, but hey, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. We're going to hopefully have a good Thursday, but we will leave you guys out some feel good news, some good vibrations, and hopefully the next one will do that. I did talk about it a little bit earlier today about the USA women's hockey team winning a gold medal in Canada. I would cover the guys, but the guys decided to go to a Trump rally, and that tells me everything I want to know. But anyway, good news.
Tonight, the gold medal thriller for the U.S. women's hockey team late today. Janae Norman, lucky enough to watch it all right there in Italy for us. Janae?
David, we were there in the arena. The atmosphere was electric as Team USA stunned Canada with a thrilling comeback win in overtime. They struggled at the start, not scoring in the first period, but they bounced back big, David. Team captain Hillary Knight tying the score at 1 late in the third period with her record-breaking 15th Olympic gold, and that pushed the game to sudden death overtime with Megan Keller's game-winning goal. You can see the puck going in there on the left, clinching gold for the American women. And David, if that wasn't enough, right after that win, another for Team USA, this time in figure skating. 20-year-old Alyssa Liu earning gold in women's singles, the first gold medal for an American woman in that category since 2002. David, in 2002, Alyssa hadn't even been born yet.
Now she's impressing us all. Janae, thanks so much. Looks like you're having fun.
And again, shout out to the USA women's hockey team for winning a gold medal against Canada. Canada has always been good. It always had great hockey teams. And again, want to shout out the women because you guys deserve it. And also shout out to the women Show and Taco. Yeah, we're not putting up with your shit. But supposed to feel good news. I digress. That being said, that's going to do it for this podcast, guys. Thank you all for watching, for liking, for letting people know it's live. I certainly appreciate that. Some shameless plug before we do get here, guys. Shout out to APR TV. Why? Because How the Frack We Got Here can be seen on APR TV. It's an app that's on the Roku app or Amazon Fire. You can definitely check my show out as well as other shows on APR TV. Definitely take a look. You will not be disappointed. Also, BlurStation.com. You guys heard me talk about BlurStation.com for a couple of years now. It is a streaming site for content for us, by us. Movies, television, music, you name it, they got it. They will also be at BlurCon this year. BlurCon, of course, will be in D.C. from March 6th to the 8th. Again, if you are going to be in the D.C. area, I highly encourage you to go to BlurCon. Again, it is a vibe. Of course, this year is Geeknik. I didn't come up with the title, but hey, it is what it is. But if you have a show, an idea, or anything that you want to advertise, we will actually have a live stream at Blur Station for BlurCon all 3 days. If you do actually have something that you do want to be advertised on our stream, simply go to BlurStation.com, click the live stream, and if you scroll down, you'll see all 4 tiers that we offer for advertising, guys. Please click on the one that best suits you and your idea, your show, whatever you want to advertise will be on the Blur Station live stream all 3 days. At the same time, guys, don't forget about BlurStation.com. $10.99 a month to stream Blur Station, and Blur Station can be streamed on all smart devices. Also on YouTube, guys, definitely follow us on YouTube with How the Frack We Got Here. Of course, as you see right there, you type in How the Frack We Got Here podcast. My page is the first thing that shows up, guys. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. So anytime that we do go live or a show is uploaded, you'll definitely be able to find it here. And again, I can't do any of this, guys, without your support. So please, thank you for everybody that likes. Thank you for people that walk up and say, hey, I recognize you. I watched your show. And again, all of that, guys, really thank you. It does motivate me to keep going. It does motivate me that the mission is to inform and to get people active. So, guys, thank you for those that definitely did like and share and subscribe. I appreciate that. Also, check out Blurred's Eye View. Why did I say check out Blurred's Eye View, guys? Because it's a show that I'm a part of with me and my other podcasting people every Tuesday and Thursday. You can check out Blurred's Eye View by going to Blurred's Eye View on YouTube. And at the bottom, you'll see actually you can follow all of us there. You can follow Room Full of Blurs. You can follow Geek by Heart, Tafari TV Gaming, my other show, The Get Bit Podcast. Of course, my show, How the Frack We Got Here, Navy Montel, Show Quo, Lord of the Culture, and Tafari TV, and Whoop-de-Freaking-Do, and Fresh Nails by Z. Again, guys, we would certainly appreciate it because, again, we'll be going live tomorrow. Roxy Hayes is our guest. Definitely like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. It is always a fun time whenever we do it. Also, guys, check me out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on, well, pretty much everywhere you get your podcast, you can find us. Whether in audio form or video form, it is How the Frack We Got Here. Again, like, share, and follow, guys, because I am just trying to spread the good word and inform people. And also my own personal social, Black_Spartan615, also can be found everywhere, guys. You can like and follow me. I usually talk to everybody. Just don't make it weird. I don't want to get in the habit of blocking people. But that being said, guys, again, please check on your mental. Mental is just as important as your physical. I cannot stress enough with the doom scrolling and just everything that's going on in the world. Please take time out for yourself. Please make sure that you are cool before you go help somebody else. At the same time, relax. It's going to be all right. At the same time, black men, I am speaking to black men. Guys, working out is cool. I'm a big proponent of working out. but please go to your doctor, not just for the physicals. I mean, get everything checked. You know, when you reach a certain age, some things got to get checked. Is it unpleasant? Yes. Is it necessary? Also, yes. Because again, we want to be around for the long haul, guys. We got to start taking our health more seriously. We have to make sure that we are doing everything we can humanly possible to be around, not only for ourselves, but for others that care about us. So definitely get checked out. You might save your own life. At the same time, guys, it is about to be the end of Black History Month, although for a lot of us, Black History Month never ends because Black history is 365 because we are living it. I encourage everybody, if you don't know, there are so many stories out there of Black people that have done amazing and incredible things that a lot of people don't know unless it's made into a movie, a book, or someone talks about it on social media. I highly encourage you guys to go out there, expand your horizons. The resources and technology that we have literally leave us no excuse. We should know more about our history before they try to whitewash it away. So again, definitely check out your history. It is an amazing story with amazing people. That also being said, guys, last thing I'll say about the Frack got here, it's all about staying informed. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel, guys. We're simply giving you all the information to allow you to make up your own mind. But we do provide a lot of perspective that goes along with it. We do better society when we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then. Like electing our first Black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first Black woman as a Federal Reserve governor, electing our first Black woman, hopefully one day, to be called Madam President. All great things. When we don't learn from history, we are doing to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go up on our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the Frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other. And I promise, we'll get through this. Live long and prosper, guys. Have a good night. Peace.